Okay, welcome back to Happy Chappy. And this is the Devil's Game, is the blame game. So, I want to use the example of myself as I normally do, and so you can put this into context to help yourself. And you may find that some of the material that I'm going to speak of could offend you. And if you're finding that, don't switch over. There's a reason why it's offending you. There's something going on within you that's causing it. Not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is actually triggering it to go off in you. Because that's what happened when I was reviewing myself. It triggered something in me and it went off. And it's just that circulation of energy. So please don't feel offended by what I'm saying or feel that it's an attack personally on you. This is just how energy works and how it's manipulated into your own way of thinking, your own box. And I think it was Einstein, said, if you still keep using the same tools, then you will never be able to create something more. And in that, if you're going to be stuck in the box that you've created in your way of thinking, then you're never going to see things in another way. It's always going to be in that devastating way, which is what we're going to talk about. And so it's the blame game. So if we're stuck in this wee box and all we're doing is blaming others outside of us for how we're feeling in this wee box, then how are we ever going to understand how to feel good about ourselves? Because we're using our energy within this box to observe outside of us on other people's boxes of their lives. But instead of using their box of their life, we're putting our box into their box, thinking that their life is our life. For example, when I was growing up, I would blame others for how I felt. And I was built with anxiety, depression, so on, so on. I was suicidal many times. And yeah, I really got myself down. I got myself down. But it was how I was feeling it. I was feeling it about others, oh, they don't care. They've done this, they've done that. And I always felt left out, pushed aside. But what way I was viewing it, I was looking at everybody else and what they were doing. But I never actually viewed their lives and what they had gone on that created them to be acting that way or to be doing things in the way that they do it. Just because I wanted it to be my way, which was ended up that I was being pretty selfish, thinking that they should act and do as what I want to make me happy so they can't live their lives. Made me selfish. And because I was being selfish, I was thinking all about me in my wee box. I'm putting them people, like my parents for example, putting them into my box, thinking they should be doing what I want them to do, not understanding what life they'd went through. But when I came to understand their life by taking my box aside and bringing their box into my box and looking into their lives and seeing what they had to go through and what they were sacrificing for me to be even living, to be there to be having the life that I was having, that they were doing everything that they could, that they had learnt in their box. They didn't know any better either. All they knew was what they knew in their wee box. And from what I seen in their box, through all the struggles and hassles of life, that they were still doing their best for me. Just because I seen it different in my box that I'd set aside and had so many different wants, that could not be produced by them because they did not know how. They did not know how to communicate in that form. And yet I was being the selfish one, expecting all the time, but yet I wasn't communicating with them either, which becomes a brackage in both boxes where they're not connected in the form of truth. So what I came to realize is that everyone's got a struggle, and there's always someone worse than you. When I looked at my parents' lifestyles and seen what they'd went through, it was horrendous. When I looked at mine, then I was thinking, well, I got nothing to be crying about, and that I was being so selfish. So what this happened or that happened, big wow, I am breathing. I've got to respect them that they brought me here. I wouldn't even be having this life only for them, no matter what I thought in that box beforehand. And I started to grow in that and realize how much I meant to them and how much they meant to me, no matter what circumstances I expected. Because what I expect wasn't what I was going to get. What I was going to get was the teaching. And the teaching was that you stand on your own feet and you respect other people for who they are and the lives that they lived, because that's not your life. You make your own life. And even in today, there's several things that's went on recently, going on around me that I could blame others for, even to the extent where I was attacked. But I'm not bothered by that. The way I view it is, well, that person's obviously gone through a lot of things in their way box. And as much as it'd be so much easy to throw in a pile of more shit on top of that box for them, for attacking me, what's the point? They're not going to learn. That's just giving them more hardship and hassle. So I left it and thought, well, here you've got enough to deal with, and you're going to have to deal with this now, and I'll leave you with that. And hopefully, some stage that you will figure that out and get over it, because you're only going to be hurting yourself. And that's all that we do. We get stuck in that box thinking of all the things that everybody else should be doing just so we could be happy in our selfish wee way. And we're all in this way at some stage of life, in some form. And yeah, we expect expectations of others when we can't even have them for ourselves and make that change for ourselves, because that's the only one who can do it is ourselves, by stepping out of the box and into everybody else's boxes and looking at their lives and viewing them and understanding where they're coming from, and that we're not the only one in this situation, that all these other people are in these situations as well, in just different forms that we're not even seeing because we're too all up in our own wee box. So if this is resonating, which I'm sure it does resonate with you, that you've got to look outside of yourself. And I'm saying all this because it does make you a better person within yourself, no matter what anyone else thinks. You will feel better about yourself no matter what's going on. Because the likes of being attacked, if that was me years ago and I was stuck in my wee box, all I'd want to do was kill that person. And that's the truth. I was in a very negative place, and I would make several plans to go and do that. and how I would do it in all different variations, or how I would hurt them in all different ways. But I had to step out of that box to make that difference and to understand, well, that doesn't make things right. It only makes things 10 times worse. And not just for me, for the people around me. But the more that I can focus on the people around me and see and view from their point of view and what lives they're going through, as well as my own, I can understand it better and not be aggressive, not want to attack people, and want to help them and change where they're at in their life the same way as I did with myself, and not be that person that's full of anxiety, depression, suicidal. Because every time I was going through them parts of my life, there was nothing nice about it. It was, I wouldn't wish it on anyone, just put it like that. And for example, my dad died when I was really young, I was about 6. And men came to my door and told my ma that there was a fight going on, and my dad was involved, and he got shoved and he took a heart attack and he died. So, at 6 years old, I did not know what was going on, but I'd heard this story. My mum was beside me and she ended up crying. I did not know why, I did not understand. But because I see my mum crying, in my head, I believed that I had to cry. So I forced myself to cry. Now, any time that when I was growing up that I'd hear about fathers or my dad, I would burst into tears. I created this pattern, not understanding why. And then I came to an understanding after time, and that stopped. But I always remembered the story. So through my life, I went looking for these people that was in this fight, unknowingly to others, because I didn't want any cover-ups or scenes to be made that manipulated what I knew. So I followed and followed and followed, and every time I got too close to one of the people that was there, their life got taken away, unfortunately. Now, over the last few months, it's popped up again, and I had stopped searching. I had give up on it, but I felt I needed an answer, so I went to a man that knew of the situation, who had came to the door, who had been there, but went to him anyway, and I asked, and I got a new reply than the reply that he told me at the door. So I know the story that was told to me was a lie just recently than the story that was said at the time. Now, I could dwell on that and say, well, there's the cover up. And yeah, there is a cover up of some sort. But as I say, I could dwell on that and stay in my wee box and still go after searching. But I don't need to. It's out and open now. I've expressed how I feel, or how I feel about it, what way I look at it, and well, the karma is to come on the people that was involved. As I got close to each of them people that seemed to be in that fight, the way I look back at it now is the karma came on to them before I could do something that was not right, because I was stuck in my wee box. So you've got to understand that if you're in a bad way of feeling or thinking or being, it's because you're stuck in your box and that way of thinking. And that box you need to step out of to change that way of thinking. So whatever you're focusing on that's keeping you in that box, you've got to focus on that in another form, as in, so if it's a person that you're focusing on did something on you, for example, like my dad, where I'm looking at his life, well, I've got to see it as, right, I've got something to say about that. I went and said it. Now it's out there. That's it, done. Karma will take its course on that. But I don't need to go putting my dad's story back into my life and wondering, but what if such and such was there and he was there and this was there. No, because I did that all my life and that was just painful. Just searching for the way I looked at was my dad's killer. And it never fulfilled me in any way. It took me away from who I am. And I was always stuck in a box of thinking that I created through things that I'd heard outside of me about my family and things that I'd seen from my family of my mum crying. And that dragged me up in life as I dragged myself up in life. Obviously, you can say I was 6 years old and I didn't understand. Yes, but now I do. And I had to go through all that to learn that. And in that, going through all that, there's always ups and downs, as we all have in life. And I don't feel like I'm hard done by or anything by that. Like, because my life, I created it myself in that form. And I dwelled on it. And I stuck myself in that box. I put the lock and key in the inside and locked it so I couldn't get out. But I eventually opened it, looked out, and looked around and looked into other people's life and seen what was going on, that they were struggling and they had their hardships. And now today, I just look at my dad as no matter what had happened, whether it be accident or murder or manslaughter or whatever it may be, my dad killed himself because he was fond of drinking and he had a heart condition. And he kept going back to the pub and drinking, which the heart was going to give out at some stage because of what he was doing and him knowing that this was happening, yet he kept doing it. So whether the salt brought on a heart attack or whatever, it was my father who killed himself. And that experience of that life was to be in my life in that way. For me to learn and understand that and to go through the experience of locking myself in the box and learning who I was, but learning to get out of that box, to find that key in that darkness and open it and get out of that box so I could see everybody else in their box and see what they were going through, and that I wasn't the only one. It wasn't all about me. It's about us all as a collective and how we can see each other and be there for each other, not to attack each other, but see where they're coming from and try to direct them in a better way by showing them that this isn't the way to go, that the way to go is to be nice, kind, loving, caring, honest, loyal with each other, and doing whatever we can for each other to help one another out of situations that we see people in. And that's what I normally try and do is if I see people or you come walking into a room and you feel that energy, something's just not right. Something's went down here before you've come in. People aren't very talkative. There's looks going on each other. Like there's been some sort of an argument or something said that's put the field of energy down. So my intention would be in them situations is to crack a joke or something, lift people's spirits. And we all see it, we all feel it, but most of the time we ignore it because we're too much in this wee box. But if you start to observe and get yourself out of that box. Observe yourself first in how you're thinking and how you're feeling towards them thoughts and how they've got you locked in this wee system. Did Well, you need to change that way of thinking. So you change the system in this box, like turning on the light in the box so you can find the key to get the lock and open it. And so you can step outside and look around and look at other people's lives and understand that they're locked from the inside of their box, but you still can come from the outside in to see what's going on in there. It's just that they can't come from the inside out. Well, they can if they find the key, just the same way as you can, the same way as I did. But you just don't want to be locked in that box. You want to observe and open up. And if you have something to say that is hurting you, go and say it. Go and release it. Don't be concerned about how someone else is feeling or whatever in that form. You've still got that right to speak your mind and say what you think so you can release them feelings. And I believe that you would be respected more for that. And to anyone that feels offended from it, well, then they've obviously got things going on in their wee box. And at least you've said your say and you can move on from that. And it's up to them then to get out of their own box. And if that troubled them, maybe that's what they needed for to activate that wee bit of a kick in the hole, I like to say, is so they can make that approach to turn on the light, get the key, open the lock and step out of their box. Hopefully this has helped you in some form. The same way it helped me was just my way of putting it. But yeah, it surely has helped me in life and flipped my life around. Because I wasn't a nice person, and I'm not saying I did really bad things right in life. No, I'm just saying personally what was going on in here, I wasn't a nice person. But now all I want to do is see people happy and smiling and enjoying life, because that's what life's about. And otherwise, if you're not doing that, you're just wasting time. And time is precious. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and thank you again for watching. Much appreciated. Love and peace to you all.